think it's safe to say that throughout the years, Ping have made some of the best looking irons on the market, and with the release of the new Blueprint S and Blueprint T, things haven't really changed. For this video, I've brought in also the i230 iron because I think with all three of these irons, there's so many options when it comes to comboing. So let's get into this video and see how they perform. Now the Blueprint S and Blueprint T, which is the new release, have been inspired by tour professionals, a must-have. What do they want to see when it comes to a tour iron? Well, certainly the top line is very important, but for some players they like to see a little bit of a cavity back, a little bit of forgiveness in there, which is where the S perfectly fits in. And then we've got that muscle back blade when we look at the T. Now these irons have been designed with two things in mind: precision and control. So starting off with the Blueprint S, we've got a very compact looking head with a very thin top line and minimal offset. But what really sets this iron apart is the split set construction technology, which is called precision pocket forging. And basically what they've done is they've split the set. So in the 3, the 4 and the 5 iron, they've taken a little bit of a cavity out the bottom of this club, saving around 10 grams of weight and distributing that weight around the head to increase MOI. But ultimately with those longer irons, they're giving us that forgiveness, but also being able to give us that launch, which is what we need to come in to the greens. But to ensure that we still get that forged feel off the club face in the 3, 4 and 5 iron, Ping have inserted an elastomer insert which allows us to still get that buttery soft feel. And then in the 6 iron through to pitching wedge, the irons have been shaped and sized perfectly for workability and control. And then for all you accomplished golfers out there, we've got the Blueprint T, which is a clean, distraction-free appearance at address. And I've got to say, as a bladed player that I've been in the past, this iron just looks absolutely stunning. We've got an extremely small profile when you look down at the golf ball, but that blend from the hosel into that top line just looks absolutely fantastic. If you flip the club over, we've got the sole, which is actually quite thin, but that allows for us to get some consistency when we're coming in and out of the turf in all conditions. And interestingly, we do have a little bit of MOI in this head. We've got a tungsten weight that's pushed into the toe of this club with a tip weight pushing the mass and the center of gravity more into the center of the club, allowing us to get that soft feel just like we're getting out of that Blueprint S. And then we have the i230, which I said I wanted to bring into this video because I think it blends perfectly with the Blueprint T and S. I think from a visual point of view, I think this is going to allow so many players the options for a little bit of comboing and actually maybe just a fraction bit more forgiveness when they come up into their longer irons with the i230. And then when I set up down to the ball with this i230, just the profile of it is just fractionally bigger. We've got a slightly thicker top line and we've got a fraction more offset in comparison to the other two models, which again, like I said, just is going to blend really nicely. But it's the feel and the sound that I wanted to share with you. Because the sound and feel that I'm getting with all three irons throughout my testing is actually very similar and again works perfectly for comboing. But let's have a little look at the numbers of what I'm getting with all three of these 7 irons to see if there is actually any differences. Now it's important to note before we get into the numbers that the clubs that I'm using are the standard lofts, and actually for me the 7 irons are 33 degrees of loft for all of them. They do offer retro lofts and they do offer power lofts. The retro's giving us more loft, the power's giving us a little bit less loft. Now if we look at the ball speed with these clubs, with the S I'm getting 116.3, with the T I'm getting 116.2, and with the i230 I'm getting 116.8, so really nothing in it, and you'd expect to get that from the lofts of these clubs. Launch wise I'm getting 18.7 out of the S, 18.1 out of the T, and then 18.4 out of the i230. Again, not really a lot in that. But then we look at the spin numbers, I'm getting 6,467 RPMs on an average out of the S. I'm getting 6,355 out of the T and 6,511 out of the i230. Again, this is subject to my strike, and to me, I don't see that there's a great deal of difference in these either. Peak heights, we got 32 with the S, we got 31 yards with the T, and 32 yards high with the i230. Again, really there's nothing in it. And then from a carry point of view, 159 yards with the S, 158 yards with the T, and 158 yards with the i230. So you can see there from the numbers that we're getting, these actually are very, very, very similar clubs. But actually, to me, and from the testing that I've done, they're not actually that similar. And what I mean by that is it's all to do with the forgiveness of these irons. When we look at the T, this is the club that's going to be all about workability, all about precision with this iron. For those players that hit it out the middle of the bat, the T is going to work really nicely for you. For those players that want a little bit more help, so a little bit more MOI, I think the S could work perfectly for you. And those that feel like they need even a little bit more help again, then the i230 comes in perfectly for you. However, I talked about this throughout the video, and that's all about the combination sets here. I think you could easily combine a set of T's and a set of S's. I also see that you could combine a set of S's into the i230, but I also see a combination there with an iron from the T into the i230, and then even going all three in the bag. But that comes down to your fitting with your foremost professional team. So book yourself in for a fitting and see how these clubs can work best for your game.